The rich cultural heritage of the Northeast is perhaps the most talked about aspect of the region. Its colorful dance forms, folk literature and music are the stuff that legends are made of. While the 220 plus tribes in these 8 states have some common features, there is a rich diversity in their cultures. But a lot of this cultural heritage is being lost or transformed. These dances can mesmerize us. They have in them stories that date back thousands of years. They tell us history. History that's unwritten. History that's not described in words, but in music and harmony, linking communities with the powers of nature. And a process of worship to the giver of all, in different forms. Dance becomes ritual, prayer and entertainment, all in one. Such is the power of tradition that we presume it's self-sustaining. But we live in a time when tradition and modernity must blend, but not to lose heritage, perhaps to enrich it.
We see what the rest of the world is doing or what the rest of the country is doing, and nobody likes to kind of stagnate. That's true not only of us but all human beings. It was inevitable that development should come. It was inevitable that the people will accept it. It was inevitable that there would be erosion of traditional values and laws, and which happens in any society.
Conservation of heritage is very critical, particularly when our heritage in the Northeast is not documented as yet. Right? We have lost. Say one of the things which we have lost in the past is a tremendous and a very rich reservoir of knowledge on traditional medicinal systems. We have lost, right? We have lost huge number of heaps of manuscripts. We have lost so many cultural practices. We have lost so many social practices, right? At the same time, what we say is we are conserving heritage, but none of the items in the Northeast, except I think Kaziranga National Park, has been in the World Heritage List.
Every 6 kilometers or 10 kilometers, the biodiversity changes so rapidly that what you found in the last 10 kilometers, you perhaps won't find in the next 10 kilometers. And there'll be a new plant or a new subspecies that you'll find growing there. So a certain sangai that is only found in the valley of Imphal is not endemic to other areas. Certain fish species that you'll only find, say, in a certain small river patch of one rivulet flowing through Manipur hills, you will not find in the next hill. The diversity is rapid. You can pick up 1 or 2 icons and say, oh, these are iconic animals or plants that represent that area. But I think the beauty of that is there's such sheer variety. So let me give you an example in terms of rather what people eat. So there's such, if you went to the Imphal Valley, there is such huge variety of vegetables that you can eat simply because so many leaves, plants, tubers grow over there and the communities learn to consume them. So an average meal, a ritualistic meal can actually have say 100 plus vegetarian dishes which are of different ingredients.
Yeah, we have some interesting stories related to the origin of the universe, origin of man, and some interesting folk tales, the origin of rivers, some traditions about the Brahmaputra, and we have some poems, some new poems also have come up about the Brahmaputra in modern literature, in modern poetry, but it is also there in oral tradition.
Nongkrem dance of Meghalaya is performed by girls in traditional costumes and ornaments. The decorated crowns the girls wear signify the glory and dignity of society. Young men with white yak hair whisks in their hands dance along to the music of tangmuri and drums. The Nongkrem dance is performed in November during the autumn season, Over the years, the festival has been attracting a large number of tourists from various places. Sian Raj Jovai is one of the most colourful and important Beding Klam festivals of Meghalaya. It's organised at the Sacred Pool or the Aithnar in Jovai. The festival dance is performed to drive away plague and evil spirits from society. Thousands of Sian Raj from Jovai, Shillong and Umalong join the festival dancing in the sacred muddy pool to the tune of drums, cymbals and flutes. At the sacred pond are roths, or paper monuments carrying various messages on them. Apart from dance, literature and folklore are preserved and passed on in the oral tradition. The storyteller is taught his skill in a system not unlike a school of dance and music.
Before literacy came to us, everything was contained in the oral tradition. Like, there were knowledgeable people in the society who carried the history of the people in their heads, who knew the names of the forefathers, who knew the stages of migration, who knew the origin of the clans, and who knew the old songs and stories. So they had a rich repertoire, and that had to be preserved. And in order to do that, the institution of morungs, in our language we call it the arju. That's the dormitory, and it was meant for sleeping quarters for adult males. And it was in these dormitories that all these stories, histories, songs, stories were repeated and taught to the young boys, so that they would become the guardians. They would tell the stories in their term.
The rich ethnic and cultural identity of the Northeast was visible at the International Spikmakke Convention at IIT Madras in the second week of June that featured music of the Ao Naga tribes. Performing were the famed Mokok Chong choir from Nagaland. 22 students of the Nagaland Conservatory of Music showcased the vibrant oral musical tradition.
All of us, we had the zeal and we had the passion for not only choral music, but also folk songs and folk fusions and all, because we were aware that we need to preserve our culture, we need to preserve our folk songs and our folk traditions and all.
Songs are the main sources for us, for the Nagas, because it's sort of a big file, piles of files, hidden under the songs. And through the songs, through the tunes, we still remember those songs throughout the generations, and without even a single mistake, And so it's still intact. It's still intact, and so it is in the purest form still till today. And that's how we are preserving our Naga culture and events, other events, historical events, through the songs.
The life and culture of all the 19 tribes of Tripura, like the other northeast states, revolve around jhum or shifting cultivation. The tribes occupy themselves, besides agriculture, in hunting, and they keep themselves entertained through songs and dances. The dances were ritualistic, worshipping the forces of nature. Hojagiri is a dance of the Riyang tribes. The dance is Lakshmi Puja, performed on the full moon night of Durga Puja, generally after the third day of Dasara. Goddess Mailuma is the Riyang version of Goddess Lakshmi. The dance is performed only by women, 4 to 6 in a team. The male members sing and play the kham, Sumoy Kshumu. Lebangs are insects that attack the fields. In the dance, the men beat bamboo sticks while the women catch these insects. Sowing is done in mid-April, and then the Tripuris pray to god Garya for a good harvest. Garya Puja continues for 7 days. Mamita is another tribal dance form of Tripura, also associated with harvest. Many of the concerns today are, to what extent can heritage be preserved since the youth don't seem inclined to preserve this dance form?
This is just a whiff of what the Northeast is, and many of these are studio performances, not giving us the ambience of the natural settings in which they are actually meant to be performed. Now the question that comes to mind is, why should the Northeast, with such a rich repertoire of art and tradition, feel a sense of alienation? Could putting too much emphasis on the tradition be a reason for this? Well, leaving them in a perpetual state of the exotic.
Don't project us as something exotic or extraordinary. Just project us as human beings, Indians, as the rest of India. That common bond between human beings, the rest will fall into place by itself. You don't have to teach me your culture. I don't have to learn mine. But if we can get along as person to person, everything falls into place.
Temsula Ao received the Sahitya Academy Award for English 2013. Her poetry goes by the title of Songs. Songs That Tell, 1988. Songs That Try to Say, 1992. Songs of Many Moods, 1995. Songs from Here and There, 2003. Songs from the Other Life, 2007. Her work on the oral tradition of her community, the Ao Naga, took about 12 years of research into their myths, folk tales, folklore, rituals, laws, customs and beliefs.
The uniqueness of the Naga situation is that we do not have a common Naga language. There is no language which you can say it's a Naga language because it belongs to one particular tribe. And there are as many languages as there are tribes. And within the tribes, as many villages as the dialects. For instance, I belong to the Ao tribe. We have two main branches of the Ao language, Chungli, Mungsan. And Chungli is the standard language. But there are as many languages as there are the villages. Each village speaks a different dialect, either belonging to the Chungli and to the Mungsan. So that's the complexity about one tribe. You can multiply that with the other 30 or 40 tribes.
Anil Boro received the Sahitya Academy Award for Bodo Literature 2013. Writers are connected to the soul of a region. He believes development must be a joint process that is both inclusive and empowering.
Yeah, the solution is the empowerment of the community, and the community leaders have to be involved in these activities. The community leaders and the national political parties, national organizations, and the government should take the community leaders into confidence, and in this way, I think these problems can be solved.
I wouldn't like to look upon people there and say, oh, they are, these happy tribals living inside forests, and we went and completely altered their lives. They also look forward to better health systems. They also require the same basic necessities like we do. Why won't an average tribal there want electricity 24/7 as we do? But can we provide them at their terms? Does it really require to take 1 megawatt there to displace 5,000 people? I think those questions, if you leave to them to decide for themselves, it works better than rather than me going and saying, no, you really deserve a hospital at any cost. Therefore, I shall also destroy 500 square kilometers of your forest to build one hospital.
The colors of the Northeast definitely make it an exotic place. But why so? Because it largely remains unknown to the rest of India. Beauty doesn't wither with time. But what is seen, appreciated and understood will help us stop asking questions that alienate our own.
Many people still cannot take in the fact that we are Indians. This time when I came to Delhi, hotel person insisted on looking at my passport. I had a little trouble explaining to him that in India I do not need a passport. So the public perception needs to be improved or changed altogether vis-a-vis the attitude towards the Northeastern people. Yeah, we are important. Northeast is important for India.
I think the racial discrimination I face as an individual also I face not because that people do not like people from the Northeast. I feel this is largely because people are ignorant about the Northeast. If large number of Indians, rest of Indian people from rest of India would go to Northeast, when they start appreciating the food, their culture, their geography, their history, their come back, and they will feel that yes, that party is so rich, that part is so magnificent.
I'm from Assam, but when I go to Kerala, Tamil Nadu, people keep wondering whether I am a Nepali, or I am a Chinese, or whether I am a Japanese. People keep wondering like this. And when I go to China, when I say that I am from India, they don't believe. Are you Hindu? They speak like this. Are you Indian? Hindu means, are you Indian? They speak like this. So, because of this physical feature.
These unconscious prejudices don't go away easily. Efforts are being made to see that Northeasterners find their rightful place in India's cultural mix. But those efforts must look holistically at blending the region's unique rich cultural heritage with its developmental needs and that of the nation as a whole.
Music makers, let us say, singers and instrument players and all that, they may be trained in the Western schools. You know, you go to through all these stages, the piano, the violin, the guitar and what have you. But when they come to create their own music, they're falling back on their traditional material. And they're creating a new music. To call it fusion will be too light a term, you know, because then fusion, anything is fusion, but they are going deeper into the traditional roots of music. They are reviving musical instruments. Not that we had many, but they are blending it with the modern instruments.
I would feel the varieties of the folk cultures, right? The varieties of folk music, the varieties of even folk medicines, unparalleled as far as India is concerned, that prevail in the northeast region. What is quite critical again is how do you bring them to the national mainstream, right? I always feel that National School of Drama, right, Sahitya Academy, right, our Sangeet Natak Academy, our National Museum, our National Archives should have a substantive, very major branch in the Northeast. Today, the question is, why should Northeast integrate with rest of India? Right? I always say there should be a reverse integration. Rest of India should integrate with Northeast, precisely because rest of India is more developed than the Northeast, but in terms of material development, in terms of economic development, but in terms of culture, in terms of heritage, they are, in terms of social, ethos, values, some of these states are far ahead of many of the states in the rest of the country.
The Northeast people, you have seen them. They are very blessed. People with a smiling face. Something you can just not create it. It's God-given. And they learn much faster. They have extraordinary brain. They are very, very different people.
Even the concept of tribal is a concept which is so different. The concept of tribals, as we feel, is altogether different from the concept of a tribal. Being a tribal, is different from the people in the mainland. So actually, it's a serious issue, but I hope with the efforts of the different educated sections of society and through media, I hope this will be preached. But one thing is that people of this region, our culture is so different. Otherwise, the Northeast, it has so much potential.
Gojoon Mokhangari Dao. Gojoon Mokhangari Dao.
Let the peace bird fly to me. After the dark smoke of the blast, let the gentle breezes blow. After the animal brutality of merciless killing, let innocent smiles bloom on the lips of children and usher in the newborn sun, to transform a dying generation who pretend to wear a still heart, a heart of machines.